Now, if you're a medical marijuana patient and you have a job where they happen to do drug testing, then you're probably very, very concerned about being fired for that job, or may have already been fired. In fact, that's actually what happened to Massachusetts resident Christina Barbuto. Now, she uses medical marijuana in the state of Massachusetts, where it is legal, to treat her Crohn's disease, which is, of course, something that is. Well, look, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to explain that. Okay, but I do know some people with the Crohn's disease, and it can be very debilitating and very painful. Now, according to Reuters, Barbuto had accused Advantage Sales and Marketing of firing her after her first day of work because she had tested positive for marijuana. Now, she was prescribed marijuana by her doctor to treat low appetite, which apparently is one of the symptoms of Crohn's disease, and she was at a very unhealthy weight level. She needed to put on more weight, and of course marijuana, well, it makes sense because it makes you hungry, okay? Now, here comes the good news about this suit. Massachusetts, their top court, had ruled that she could now sue her former employer for discrimination based on a handicap. Now, the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court rejected the former employee's argument that she could not sue it for handicap discrimination because possessing marijuana remains illegal under federal law. Now, lawyers for the ex-employee said that the ruling represents a major win for employees in the state and sets a precedent that they could have for an impact in other states where medical marijuana is legal. So, look, I don't know if a lot of you people think about this a lot, but if you're somebody who's prescribed legal medical marijuana, it could actually cost you your job if they have random drug tests. Now, again, this is something that people are prescribed for a doctor to solve a certain or to deal with certain chronic diseases, okay? It's almost no different than getting prescribed prescription drugs. Now, those, however, are perfectly legal, but they can seriously mess you up in the job, okay? But as long as you have a, prescription, you can't get fired. That's not the case with marijuana because it's illegal on the federal level. However, in Massachusetts, when they brought up this case, after this woman got fired for just taking her prescription, she, went to the court, and the court decided, and this is Chief Justice Ralph Gantz, saying that if a doctor concludes medical marijuana is the most effective treatment for an employee's debilitating condition, which Crohn's is, an exception to an employer's drug policy to permit it to use is a facially responsible accommodation. Now, understand that. Now, look, employers have to make a reasonable accommodation for people with disabilities, right? Having Crohn's disease is a debilitating condition. It can cause you to run back and forth to the bathroom, even worse. It's a very painful condition. So that in itself can be very debilitating. So if you're given a medication that actually helps that and makes it so that you're able to function at work, you should be able to take that. So being able to use that drug at work is a reasonable accommodation, which by law, employers are supposed to give you. Okay. So that's why it's actually really important, because this could set a precedent for other places. Now, the fact that, Gantz continues, the employee's possession of medical marijuana is in violation of federal law does not make it, per se, unreasonable as an accommodation. Because it may be illegal at the federal level, but it is legal at the state level. Very interesting. So again, to me, that seems like a big game changer. Now, I have to remind you that the marijuana has to be legally prescribed. You can't just show up at work with a joint and be like, hey, nah, doc said I'm good to go. No. It's got to be legally prescribed. Okay, so if you have recreational license, you can't just bring it into work. You do have to be careful. But, and this also says that it doesn't say that you can't be fired either. But it does say that you can sue your employer after you get fired for discrimination, and the court will have to handle it. Now, the ruling by the unanimous six-judge panel noted that this is because the employee, not the company, could have been subject to a prosecution under federal law for the employee's drug use. Okay. Now, why this is so important is that whole distinction. It is legal on the federal level, but only the person who's doing it can be busted for it. If the feds decide to do a raid, which sounds crazy, but it does happen and probably will happen more often under Jeff Sessions. Now, that means that the company is not liable. And under state law, if you're prescribed it for a real medical issue, as an employer, you have to make a reasonable accommodation. And according to this judge, this is reasonable. It's considered no different than taking a pill for pain or anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, or anything else that helps you function at the workplace. And again, you don't see a lot of people being fired for taking those drugs. So cannabis, according to the court, is saying they're saying that it is no different. And it's big because it validates the positive medical uses of cannabis. They're saying that if a doctor says that this is the best option, then we're going to treat it like any other medication. That's a big, big thing. It's a big win. And I do hope that this case will serve as precedent for any others cases that come across. And this might actually start a bunch of cases, which would be a great thing. It will protect the rights of people who use cannabis for medicinal reasons. Okay. And let's not forget, the whole reason that marijuana is outlawed at the federal government level is because of our ridiculous war on drugs. Now, they want to continue throwing people in jail because of a plant and helping the pharmaceutical and alcohol industries, both of which are threatened by cannabis, maintain their bottom lines. So this whole thing's about money anyway. That's super grotesque that our government continues to further that, and it actually prevents a lot of research into more of the benefits of legal cannabis. So let's hope that in the future, because of this decision, other courts will decide to take similar actions to finally protect the rights of people who do use medical marijuana in order to treat actual conditions. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.